great epic of the Mahabharata is never complete without Hastinapur, a great city of power and wealth which the Kauravas ruled. Fought for by the Pandavas, the city was named after the Kuru king Hastin. A mighty city, elephantine in strength, with its own large army of elephants, or Hasti as they are called in Sanskrit. Centuries later, in independent India, a city near Meerut was selected as the site to excavate this ancient city. This city sits on the banks of the Ganga just as Hastinapur did. Excavation began in 1950 under the renowned archaeologist Professor B.B. Lal, and the ancient remains of a city were discovered. The soil layers revealed various periods of settlement with time gaps in between. At one layer at the bottom, there was evidence of riverine soil from the Ganga, pointing to a flood that must have occurred then. Two mounds called Ulta Khera and Raghunathji were excavated in 1920, and various ancient artifacts were recovered from these sites. One of these was the painted greyware pottery that's made of very fine clay and is unique to this region. The professor makes a vital observation, saying that this greyware points the period to be around 720 BC. But since all the samples are contaminated with rootlets, this cannot be an acute value. However, he points out that the ochre-colored pottery from the same region can be dated all the way back to 2650 BCE, the destiny of a kingdom that witnessed power. After the Battle of Kurukshetra, the Pandavas settled in Hastinapur. King Nichakshu reigned in the post-Mahabharata period. He lived 6 generations after Janamejaya, the great-grandson of Arjuna. He Matsya Purana and the Vayu Purana state that during the period of King Nichakshu's rule, there was a great flood in the Ganga which washed over much of Hastinapura. Thus, he was forced to shift the capital to Kausambi, further downstream and near the banks of the Yamuna. From the Puranic data, we find that King Nichakshu lived about 10 generations after the Pandava. Assuming an average period of 25 to 30 years for a new generation to arrive, King Nichakshu probably lived 250 to 300 years after the Mahabharata. The Mahabharata occurred around 3000 BCE and King Nichakshu ruled 250 to 300 years later. This date corroborates with the date of the ochre-colored pottery, 2650 BCE. When the city of Nagasavaya Hastinapura was carried away by the Ganga, King Nichakshu abandoned it and went to Kausambi. The statement from the Purana tallies with the archaeological find of a flood layer, both in site and date. Professor B.B. Lal said this to the people who were still not convinced with the archaeological evidences. Archaeology cannot provide evidence of Lord Krishna having spilled the butter pot. If you like the video, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching.